Here we go. Recordings in progress, which means, oh man, I really have to behave myself now. Okay, so I wrote down a list of listing skills that separate you from the competition. Now, let me preface this. These are some things you've definitely heard before, no doubt about it. Some things maybe you haven't heard before, maybe some things you have heard before, but this is a great reminder. But this is a list of things that the average real estate agent would not do. Not necessarily the average Neil Schwartz agent, Mike Ferry agent, whatever the case may be. Just the average real estate agent won't do these things. That's what these particular skills or activities are that's going to separate you from the competition and get you more listings. Now, I'm assuming that everyone would like to convert more appointments to listing signed. Is that correct? Okay, I've got 2 of you. Good.
Yes.
Yes.
Right. So 2 people are going to, 3 people, 4 people are going to go from 25% to 75%. The rest of you, I'm just trying to get from 25.
Yes.
Great. Okay. All right.
Make it 7.
I just want to make sure you're paying attention. Look, as an expressive, I don't need an audience, but it's nice to have one. Okay. All right. So here we go. So again, this is just the average agent, the average real estate agent. I'm not even talking about the below average agent that, is also a full-time mechanic, but happens to sell a house every so often. Or, the hairdresser that happens to sell a house, the Uber driver, whatever the case may be. I'm talking about the average 3 to 4 unit agent. What they're going to do on a listing pre-station, they get a listing. What they're going to do is they're going to, okay, listing's at 3:30 on Thursday. Great. They're going to show up, go to the house, talk to these people about the listing, tell them how great they are, and hope they get a contract signed, build some rapport, talk about the kids, the dogs, all these other different things. That's what the average real estate agent's going to do. That's why the average real estate agent, according to Mike Ferry, they run the numbers, closes 20% of their listing appointments. Okay, we do more. So let me dive into some of these things here. Again, some of these you've heard before, some of these maybe you haven't, but this is the skills that separate you from the competition. Number 1, pre-qualify. 100% of the leads. Anybody want to? What percentage of the questions?
100.
100. Yay! 100% of the leads, 100% of the questions, 100% of the time. Robert, it's my mother. You should ask her twice. Okay. Don't tell me your mother's never lied to you. Okay. Oh, you're like the perfect child. Lie number 1. All right.
You're so right.
So there you go. Right. Because the average agent is not going to pre-qualify. You're interested in listing your house. You want me to come by Thursday at 3:30? I'll be there and just show up. Now, let me ask you something. If you went to the doctor's office and you said, hey, doc, I have a headache. And they said, oh, take these pills, have yourself a night. Wouldn't you be a little bit curious as to why they didn't try to figure out the problem? Wouldn't you be a little concerned that they just said, hey, take these pills?
Yeah.
I would be concerned.
Yeah.
Now, if I was 21, maybe not. That's a different story. Okay. But I would be concerned. So a doctor's going to go, oh, your head hurts? Well, when did it start hurting? Did you hit your head against anything? Have you been drinking enough water? Feeling any other issues? They're going to ask you all these pre-qualifying questions. And as annoying as it may be, really, that's what you want, because they're trying to figure out what's wrong with you instead of just saying, take these pills. The pre-qualify is that I'm trying to figure out, A, what are you trying to accomplish? B, can I accomplish it for you? C, should we really even be meeting? And D, what do I need to show you when I get there to make sure that you're going to list with me? The pre-qualified does all that. Otherwise, you could go on a listing that's not an actual listing appointment. Has anyone ever done that? Gone out on a listing just to find out it's not a real listing appointment? That happened to anybody ever?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Lie. Okay,
Yes.
so a couple of you are telling the truth. The rest of you are either lying or not paying attention. Oh, you want to sell your house? Great. So when do you want to sell? When we retire? Oh, you're retiring? Well, yeah, in 3 years. Oh, so glad I'm here. Well, yes, we would love to sell our house. Oh, great. Well, what price were you thinking? Well, I don't know, 1.2 mil. Well, it's about an $800,000 neighborhood. You sure you want to go with that price? Yeah. I probably don't need to go. Okay. So pre-qualify, that's what they want. It shows you're a professional. It shows you're a doctor. It shows you're a financial advisor. It shows that you're that type of person, the lawyer. Okay. And that's the standard you should be holding yourself to, pre-qualify. Number 2, send out a pre-listing package. Send out a pre-listing package. To, again, everybody. Well, Robert's a past client. So what? Let me ask you this. Some of you know the answer. How many people use their agent again? When somebody buys and sells a home, how many of them use their agent again? What percentage?
60%.
22%.
That's 20. Yeah, the latest number was 23.
Wow.
Nationally, now to your point, Dave, 75% of people, when they close a transaction, according to an NAR study, at closing, they say they're willing to use their agent again, but at the end, only 23% do. So now that's a communication problem. But for the listing, we can't get into the mentality, it's a past client, they'll list with me, no problem. I don't need to send them the pre-listing package. Oof. For a couple bucks, you're going to get paid $10, $15, $20, $30,000 depending on your area, and you're debating whether or not to spend $10 in shipping to send them a pre-listing package or pay someone to go drop it off. Pre-listing, it separates you from the competition because there's 3 possible options to sending a pre-listing package. Number 1, they get this nice pre-listing package delivered in the mail. Okay. Now let's be honest. When you get a package from like FedEx or something like that, isn't there like a little bit of excitement in you? What did I get?
Yeah.
Did somebody send me something? What is this? Right? So you get a little bit of excitement that you open it up and there it is, this beautiful pre-listing package about listing your home. It's a little excitement you create with the seller. So you get that. The other agent doesn't send it. Before you walk in the house, you're head of the other agent. That other agent now has to give the most ridiculous presentation or listing from cutting their commission or overpricing it. You're already ahead. So that's number 1. You send it, they don't. The second possible outcome is that you send this wonderful pre-listing package, but on the same day, they get another FedEx package from the other agent. And it's like, wow, I'm interviewing the 2 right agents. So you're going in, you're even. Okay. The third option is that you don't send it and you happen to run into an agent that does. So now the seller gets that warm and fuzzy feeling from the other agent and they're going, well, where's Robert? I got nothing from Robert. Pre-listing package is key. Now, I want to say this to you. Upgrade your pre-listing package. Get the newest logos. Get the newest looks. Let me tell you something. Jack Ma, God bless his soul, is dedicated to upgrading everything in life. And he just sent me his new pre-listing package. And if Jack Ma is on a listing appointment, if Jack Ma is competing against a listing with you, and he sends that pre-listing package he just sent me and you don't send one, don't even go. Because his pre-listing package, the new one he just sent me the other day, is pristine. I mean, upgraded visually, everything. Upgrade it, make it look better. All right, so you're going to pre-qualify them. You're going to send out a pre-listing package. So before you even walk in the door, you've shown your profession by asking the questions. They've gotten this wonderful package from you. My goodness, you are way ahead of the competition just by those 2 things. I wrote down here next, going to the presentation, dress to impress. Dress to impress. Has anyone ever been to an open house and you couldn't figure out which one the real estate agent was?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah. You walk into an open house going, who's running this show? Which one's the agent?
I thought the client was the agent.
I thought the client, yeah, the client's the one spending the money, so they're dressed up. The agent's, in their, pants and a polo. Not to say it's a bad look, obviously, or my favorite is the Chucks, the Converse with the jeans, like the rock and roll t-shirt, but you got the sports coat on. So now you're professional because at least you threw the sports coat on. Now, again, I love the look. I wear that same look, on date night. I'm not wearing it to a $900,000 listing appointment. Okay. Dress to impress. Now, here's the key. Here's the key that I want some of you to understand. Just because it's not $1 million property doesn't mean you shouldn't look like $1 million. I noticed years ago, actually, some of you might know the name John Arrow, Aaroe. John Arrow was a broker owner of one of the most successful real estate franchise all across Los Angeles. He was predominantly West Side territory. So I had a decent relationship with him, got to meet him a number of times, but I had a good relationship with some of his higher ups. So years ago, before he retired for the second time, he said he was going to open up an office in Baldwin Park. Now, Baldwin Park's a fun, but the John Arrow group was like, dude, you're Beverly Hills, you're Palisades, you're Brentwood, like everything about you is luxury. It just seems like an odd to go all of a sudden down to Baldwin Park. And he said to me, he said, well, I happen to be down there doing some other business. And I went into an open house and I look at the agents that were coming in and out of the open house. I took a look at the flyers and I said to me, this is crap. And this is this property that is still going to sell for $500,000. And the production value of the agent and the marketing here is crap. He said, gosh, if I took the marketing materials from a John Arrow group of Beverly Hills and brought them to the type of clients in Baldwin Park, I'd kill it out here. So you know what he did? He decided to open up an office in Baldwin Park and do that. And all of a sudden, the John Arrow group was one of the top offices instantly in Baldwin Park because he took the Beverly Hills type of marketing mentality to an area where most agents didn't see their market as a Beverly Hills type market, and he crushed it. Well, Robert, this is a fixer. It's a $300,000 property. Suit up. Color flyers. Okay. You're getting paid. Dress to impress, no matter what the listing is. Always look better. I want you to write this down. Someone taught me this years ago. It's never a bad thing to be the best dressed person in the room.
Yep.
Never a best dressed person in the room, no matter what situation you're in. You're walking into a real estate transaction, you're walking into a dinner party, you're walking into the club, doesn't matter. You're the best dressed person in the room, never anything wrong with that. Have that mentality. Makes a difference. Now, here's the thing. Some of you are going, well, gosh, Robert, I can't afford the Armani suit. I can't afford the custom suits. You don't need a custom made suit. Now, look, I have custom made suits. They're nice. Okay. But I have some suits that aren't custom made either. Those are also nice. You don't need to go to, these lavish places. Go get yourself a decent clothing. You'll be fine. Okay. All right. I wrote down here next. Okay. Make sure all decision makers are there. This is a listing skill that separates you from the competition. Make sure all the decision makers are there, or don't go. Or don't go. See, this separates you from the competition because will most people go even if all the decision makers are not there? The average agent, well, that's okay. I'll talk to the spouse and then she'll talk to the husband. Because I'm sure the spouse will translate everything you said perfectly to the husband. Happens every time. Make sure all the decision makers are there. How do you make sure all the decision makers are there? You ask, are all decision makers going to be there?
Yeah, it's on the pre-call questionnaire.
Well, you know, my wife is actually traveling for work, so she won't be here. When will she be back? Well, she won't be back for 2 weeks. Are you going to list your house in the next 2 weeks? No. Great. Then I'll see her when she gets back. See, we fear. The average agent fears, well, if I don't go and talk to the husband, then they're going to list their house with somebody else. Are they going to list their house if one of the spouses is out of town? No, probably not. Okay. Are they going to sign the contract? Is one spouse going to sign the contract if the other spouse isn't there? No. That's how divorces happen. Honey, guess what? I listed our home. Excuse me? Well, this didn't go well. Make sure all the decision makers are there. Okay. I wrote down here next, smile. Smile. Some of you that comes naturally. Some of you, you have to like get a wrench. Okay, one goes this way, the other goes this way. There you go. I mean, some of you, I can't even get you to turn your, I don't even know what you look like. Smile. Smile. Do people want to typically work with happy, positive people?
Yes.
Yes. Even if they're negative, and there are a lot of negative people in the world, negative people don't want to be around other negative people. They want to be around positive people for one of two reasons. Either A, they want someone to lift them up, or two, they want to bring you down. Either way, that's their goal. Smile. Hey, how's it going? Right? Smile constantly the whole time. Most people don't smile enough, and that's why they don't get the listings. This is what separates you from your competition. Okay. I wrote down here next, keep saying their name and keep saying their motivation. Hearing their name. Even the most basic name. Robert is not an exciting name. It's been around for a long time and millions of people have it. But if you come to a presentation and you say, so Robert, I'm so excited about getting your home on the market to get it sold. Do you mind if I take a quick look around? Robert, your house looks amazing. Very good. Hey, so Robert, I wrote down 3 real important questions for you. So Robert, at the end of our presentation, one of 3 things is going to happen. I'm totally engaged because you keep saying my name.
Yeah.
And then keep going back to their motivation. Now, oh, that's right. And you're moving down to the Pacific Palisades, right? Right. Okay, great. That sounds exciting. Now, we could list this home, $750,000. And you said you had to be in the Palace. You wanted to be in the Palisades by 3 months, right? Right. Okay. Keep going. Keep talking about their, keep saying their name, their motivation. It creates emotion. People act on emotion. Okay. And it keeps them engaged too. Is it difficult to get someone to sign a contract if they are not engaged? If they're not engaged, it's very difficult to get them to sign a contract. One of the ways you keep them engaged is by saying their name and saying their motivation. Keep saying their name, keep saying their motivation.
Would it matter
average
using their
agent-
last name?
What's that?
Their first name or last name doesn't matter? I mean,
No, I don't think it really matters. I guess it just depends on their preference. But it doesn't really matter. Most agents don't say the name. Most agents say I a lot. Well, that's great. You know, I'm so excited about looking at your home. Oh, your home looks great. I can't wait to do this. I do this. I'm this. I'm this. They don't say the other person's name. They say their name a lot.
Yeah.
Say their name, their motivation. This is what separates you from the competition.
Good point.
I wrote down here next, energy. Mike Ferry 101. Energy and enthusiasm will beat just skills almost every time. Energy and enthusiasm will beat just skills almost every time. Energy. Now, I say this every time I talk about energy. I don't want you to be me. That's a lot of energy. Okay, that might be a bit much. But you can't be boring. Let me give you an example. I hate saying this example, but it's the best one that drives the point home. There's a guy in Seattle, Mike Ferry agent, George Graham. George Graham is a very nice man and an incredible real estate agent. Okay. George Graham is very, very analytical. He talks very slowly and methodically when going through his presentation. I would never list with him, even though he probably the most skilled real estate agent in the marketplace. I wouldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Like, dude, help me. Pick it up. Energy sells, energy enthusiasm. How do I know energy sells? Now that's an example. Let me give you the example of how I know energy sells. Anthony Robbins, Tony Robbins. What is something that Tony Robbins is famous for making people do at his retreats? Anybody know?
Firewalk.
Where he walks on the coals.
Yep.
Where they walk on the coals. Now, I want you to picture a situation. Tony Robbins gets people to take their shoes and socks off and walk their bare feet across hot coals. That makes no logical sense to do. But Tony Robbins goes, all right, Robert, this is it. This is your moment. You're going to do this. You're going to walk on this. It's going to change your life. It's going to make it's going to turn. And you go, yeah. And you walk across those coals. Now imagine if Tony Robbins did this. All right, Robert. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to take your shoes off. I want you to take your socks off. I've laid out some flaming hot coals here. And I want you to walk across it. And it's going to be exhilarating. I'm not walking across those coals. Like, no, you crazy? That's how I know energy sells. That's the best example I can find that energy sells. You could get people to walk across hot coals in their bare feet. Most real estate agents don't do that. Most real estate agents are stiff. Oh, I'm so excited. Get in your home. There's no energy. There's no enthusiasm, no smiling. This is what separates you. Energy, enthusiasm, smiling. Get it? All right, I wrote down here next. Now, this is really part of the stuff here next is part of the presentation, right? Is have a specific plan of action. Now, for some of you, this is very basic. It's your plan of action. Could be your Mike Ferry 18-point plan of action. Could be a 25-point plan of action, 33-point plan of action, a 21-point plan of action. Doesn't matter. Have a specific plan of action. The average real estate agent is vague. What do I mean by vague? Oh, we're going to do a ton of marketing. What the hell does that mean? We have a giant database that we're going to get in touch with. We know a bunch of investors. We're going to send your property out to a lot of people. It's like vague stuff. We're going to get you exposed, your property exposed everywhere. This is stuff. This is what I hear. This is what an average real estate agent does. People don't want vague. They want specifics. Even expressives want specifics. I'm an expressive. Don't tell me that you're going to do a bunch of marketing. Where? To who? And what is a bunch to you? Because a bunch to you might not be a bunch to me. A specific plan of action. All right, here's what we're going to do first. I'm going to send this out to all the agents in my company. It's going to go on the company hot list email. That's 200 of the top real estate agents in the area are going to see this listing right away. Maybe they have a buyer for it. I'm also going to make 15 contacts a day, 5 days a week, calling people around your neighborhood, trying to see if they know a buyer. That's 75 contacts in the first week. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to send it out to everybody in my database. I have 250 people, past client centers of influence. They're my biggest source of business. I'm going to email them your listing, see if they know a buyer. That's specific. That's what gets people engaged, not the we're going to do a bunch of marketing stuff. Specific plan of action of what you're going to. I wrote down here next, have a copy of your schedule at the presentation, or maybe even in your pre-listing package, a copy of your schedule. Now, that means you have to have one. We'll get to that. But a copy of your schedule in there. Do you think other real estate agents put a copy of their schedule in their package or hand it to the seller? Do you think they do that? Why do you think most real estate agents don't give a copy of their schedule to the seller?
Because they don't have one.
They don't have one. Is real estate typically their biggest financial transaction?
Yes.
Yes. For your biggest financial transaction, wouldn't it be nice to work with someone who has a set schedule like a regular business person and not someone who's just an independent contractor who can just go and come as they please? I'm not selling a pen. It's $1 million house. I don't want some just go and come as you please type of person. Send them a copy of your schedule. Send them a list of all the affiliates that are going to be involved in the transaction, including their phone numbers and emails, meaning that here's the title rep that we're going to use. It's John Smith from ABC Title. Here's his phone number. Here's his email. So if you get a call from him, that's who he is. Here's the escrow officer. It's so and so forth. Here's the transaction coordinator. Here's my, my assistant. If you have one, give them the list so they feel like there's a whole group of people working for them to get the deal. This is a major transaction. There's a lot that goes into it. You never want them to feel insecure. So now it's like, oh, I've got this agent, and now he's kind of wrapped me in this blanket of affiliates that are all protecting me and here for me for my deal. And the other agents aren't going to do that. Now, I'm not done yet. There's more stuff, but if you wrap this up, it's my favorite objection handler ever. Favorite objection handler of all time, competing against another agent. Let me share it with you. Okay. Well, the other agent said they would do this. Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, let me ask you, did the other agent send you a pre-listing package? No. Okay. Did the other agent give you a specific step-by-step plan of action of what they're going to do to get their home sold? Or did they just use a bunch of vague terms like they're going to do a bunch of marketing? Well, they a bunch of vague terms. Okay. And I imagine you want someone who's got a more specific plan, right? Right. Okay. Did they give you a list of all the affiliates involved in the transaction? No. Okay. Did they give you a schedule? No. Can I tell you why that concern you? Well, why is that? Well, it means they probably don't have one. And look, I'll be honest with you, Mr. Masso, the downside of my business is we're independent contractors, and a lot of people in this business come into the office whenever they want. They leave whenever they want. They don't treat their business like a CEO does with a set schedule. Now, let me ask you this. Do you want someone with a set business CEO schedule or someone that just kind of flies by the seat of their pants every day? I want someone with a set schedule. Okay. So based on that, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you can either have an agent with no pre-listing package, no plan of action, no affiliates, and no schedule, or an agent that has a pre-listing package, gave you all the affiliates, has a specific plan of action, and has a business CEO schedule. Which agent would you like to list your home with? I'll take number 2 for 500, Johnny. Thank you. My favorite objection handler. Because it makes no sense for them to agent. None. Zero. And even if the other agent did send a pre-listing package. Okay, great. I still have the schedule, which I know the other agent no chance in hell has given them. It's my favorite objection handler. Works like a charm. But it only works if you give them these things. This is what separates you from the competition. All right, a couple other points I wrote down here, then we'll wrap up. Do your absolute best to see every comp in person. Do your absolute best to see every comp in person. One of the most powerful short statements, in my opinion, and just my opinion, one of the most powerful short statements on a listing presentation is when you're going through the comps and you ask the client, have you seen this home? And they say, no, I haven't. And you say the following, I've been in this house. That to me is one of the most powerful short statements you can make on a listing presentation, because it instantly shows the seller that they cannot argue with you about the price of that house versus the price of yours. Have you seen this house? No, I haven't. Well, I've been in this house. Know the neighborhood. Not just the market stats, but know the neighborhood. Most agents just show up to the house. Okay, here's the price. Let me sell it. But if you can know the neighborhood, where you know the school district is important for this particular listing, you know that there's something that's being built or something that's being torn down, or there's a new law that's going into place. There's something that's going on in the neighborhood. What if you know what type of demographic the neighborhood is, so you could cater your presentation around that? Give you an example. What if you know that the neighborhood has a 45% non-owner occupied rate? Go to the seller and you say, hey, Mr. Michelle, know that 45% of the homes in your neighborhood are rentals. I knew it was a rental market. I didn't know it was that much, right? So really, to market your property the best, we can't just market it locally. We need to market it nationally and internationally, because we have to cater to the investors, right? Right. Well, here's my plan to do that. Ooh. The average to do that, they're just going to say, this, look at my plan. Look how great I am. You just gave them some facts about their neighborhood and how you're going to cater your presentation to that. That's huge. So know what's going on. Know the demographics. Know the type of people that are going to buy in that neighborhood, and then customize that as part of your presentation. And you could go online, Google stuff like that for each city and find that kind of stuff out. Okay. I wrote down here next, have some graphs or some charts regarding the market stats. InfoSparks is the best. I'm not going to go into InfoSparks right now. I'll do that another time if you need more help with that. But if you can show them the market stats and trends and some sort of graphs, it makes it easier for you to price property, and it shows you that you're an expert compared to the average agent that's just going with an MLS printout of some comps. It's huge. See, my dog agrees. Have some.
You know what's really great about that is if you can get an idea of how much they think it's worth. You don't argue on the phone, but you put it on the graph, and then all of a sudden they see that they are so far above everything else. You don't have to say a word.
Huge. It's huge. Yeah, I 100%, Dave. That's a great point. Huge. Yep. Yep, absolutely. But and then to Dave's point though, they have to see it, because if it's just hearsay, if you're just, well, no, it's not going to list for this, we should be listing that. But if you give them the proof, man, telling you, the average agents don't provide proof, they provide opinions. The average agent doesn't provide proof, they provide opinions. You provide the proof with the market stats, the graphs. You've seen every comp. Huge. Then the last thing I wrote down here on what separates you from the competition, which I think is one of the last remaining sales skills that we have that can ourselves, is understand their personality styles. If you want to separate yourself from the competition, one of the last remaining sales skills that can really do it is understand their personality style, and then cater your presentation to that specific thing. If you don't know personality styles, that's okay. Actually, Monday, I'm 12/15 Monday, I'm doing personality styles 101. I do personality style classes all the time. That's one of my things. But if you can understand their personality style and cater your presentation to that, huge. Let me give you an example. We'll wrap up with this. We'll wrap up with this. The average agent walks into the house. Oh, hey, John, Jane, oh, we're so excited. Oh, thank you so much for having me over. Appreciate it. Oh my gosh, this is so cool. And they're talking the way they normally talk. What if I could find out their personality style? And we'll do this on Monday. I'll go over how you can identify that. And I customize my opening line based on that. So if they're an analytical, I walk in, oh, I'm so excited about you showing me all the wonderful specific things, every inch of this house and how we're going to go ahead and get it sold and get you every dollar that you want. An analytical is going to go, yes, every inch of this house, every dollar to the penny. Great. Right? Thank you again for having me over. Oh my gosh, I can't wait for you to show me all the wonderful things you've had in this house. Tell me about all the memories you've had and how we're going to transfer that to the next buyer so they can share the next memories. I say that to an amiable, they're going to go nuts. Oh, thanks again for having me over. Hey, look, I can't wait to get right down, show you how we're going to get you to Pacific Palisades in 3 months. Let's get to work. Let's get this house sold. I say that to a driver right when I walk in. I'm in their pocket. I walk into an expressive, I'm smiling, I'm energetic. Wow. Oh, thank you again for having me over. Gosh, I'm so excited about talking about getting this house sold for you, getting you down to the Palisades, getting you all the money. Let's go ahead and get this started. What do you think? That energy, enthusiasm, the end goal in mind. If I customize my beginning to their personality style, right from the get-go, I'm in their pocket. So we'll talk more about that on Monday. So,
Robert?
yes.
Your question. So on Monday, when you talk about the personality type, you'll also like talk about like, you know, how to interact with them to cater to their needs so we can better help them
Correct.
and have them.
Correct.
Is that what you're saying on Monday?
Correct.
Okay, great.
Correct. For example, with an analytical, they're an analytical. Here's the phrase you need to know more than any other phrase with an analytical. Does that make sense? Those words, when dealing with an analytical, if you don't use those words with an analytical, you will never, ever get them to sign a contract. Does that make sense? Because they will not move on to the next point if it doesn't make sense yet. And by that point, if you've moved on, you've lost them. It's over. So you go through the comps. You're at comp number 1. This house is a little bit better than yours. As you can see, it's 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Okay, let's go to comp number 2. They're still on comp number 1 thinking, well, wait, why is this? Now you're on comp number 2 talking about how this house is the same as yours. Then you're on comp number 3 and you're talking about how their house is better than this. And they're still on comp 1, annoyed, not sure why you said that that comp was better than their house. It's over. Game over. You're not going to get the listing. But if at the end of comp number 1, I asked them, does that make sense? They could say, well, you know, you said it's better because of the upgrades, but, and then they ask the question, then you can handle it.
Yeah.
But if you don't do that, it's over. Okay. You talk about reality and fantasy land. How do buyers determine value? You go through it. Does that make sense? If they go, well, no, I mean, like if I was a buyer, I wouldn't necessarily care about the upgrades to the car. Like if they're not on board, it's over. So you have to say, does that make sense every time?
Okay.
So we'll go over that on Monday. Other questions on what we went over today? All right. So look, the
Always
point
learn something, Robert.
I'm doing my damnedest.
Robert, do you put a listing contract in the listing? I mean, in the listing presentation?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. I would put it, and then I would either highlight where to sign or put those little sticky things on where to sign. Yep. I would send it. for a couple reasons. Number one, for them to either potentially sign it, or number two, even if they don't sign it, they've probably looked through it, which means when I go to the listing and we agree on everything, it's not going to take me as long to go through the listing contract. So I might be there for if I might myself 30 minutes at the end.
And you'll certainly find out as soon as you step through the doorway whether the price was near what they thought.
Oh yeah. Yeah. 100%. Yep. I'll know. I can tell their face. See their facial reaction.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Good stuff. All right, everybody. So look, the point of this was just a couple additional ideas that are a little bit different than what the average agent may do that can help you generate a few extra listings, close on a few extra ones. Okay. If nothing else, I'm telling you, the schedule, the copy of the affiliates, and that plan of action, that is nothing else. If you got nothing else out of that, that's the golden nugget. That will crush a lot of your competition. All right, everybody. That's all I
Question.
got. Yes.